Yeah, the world has had that freedom. The internet opened up the world. We all realized that we were all better off when we traded across border and we spread new technologies around, and we built this amazing world where every transaction made us all wealthier, and all of our lives got better and better and better. Well, when governments, either it was COVID or it was a reaction to having a global currency, or the fear of losing their tribalism to this new globalism, somehow the governments have gotten really ambitious on trying to lock us in place and make us do their bidding. And I think that is unhealthy. I actually think their reaction to COVID may have been the worst policy decision in the history of the world. And I think that if you are a believer in the global system, Bitcoin is a great solution. I think the decentralization of the world is coming, and I think governments need to get on board. Governments need to compete for us. If they have a bad currency, they should adopt a cryptocurrency as an alternative. If they have a currency nobody has any faith in, that's not going to be a good thing for their economy. I mean, think of, nobody has any faith in the Nigerian naira. Nobody has faith in the Argentinian peso, the bolivar from Venezuela. Nobody has faith in those currencies, and so people are saying, well, look, if we're going to have a healthy economy, we need a currency that isn't subject to political whims, that isn't subject to somebody printing 9 trillion of them just willy-nilly. The dollar used to be, people used to say, yeah, but I have a lot of faith in the dollar. Well, now, dollar just dropped, what, 20-30% in value, with 9 trillion of them just printed like paper. I think we've got a situation where, look, if we want to build this economy of the future, it's got to be global, it's got to be transparent, it's got to be open, it's got to be decentralized. And so Bitcoin is your solution. It's here. And it's great because being stuck in place has made it so all these people have started to move money to Bitcoin. And they realize how easy it is to move money around, to buy things, to do all those things. And it wasn't so easy in 2017, 2018. Now it's very easy. And they're starting to realize that, hey, this is money I can move around the world. It's a much healthier economic system, and the banks are freaking out. You know, you hear Goldman Sachs saying, "Oh, Bitcoin's not an asset." It's like the Wizard of Oz saying, "No, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. I'm the Wizard of Oz." Of course, because people are taking their money out of that banking system and moving it into this crypto system. And by moving it out of the banks, they are realizing they're not going to get the 2.5% to 4% every time you swipe your credit card. They're not going to be able to manipulate your money and do all that. Some banks are realizing that the future is coming. Bitcoin's going to be a big part of it. How do we incorporate Bitcoin into our way of thinking? But a lot of banks are saying, no, we have to keep it the way it is. We want that 2.5% to 4% every time you swipe your credit card. We want to keep in fancy suits and big fancy buildings. The customer, are just going to have to put up with it. Well, now we got an alternative. And by the way, if I had to send you money right now, the easiest way to do it would be to send you Bitcoin. Otherwise, it's a wire transfer or a check or cash. How do I get you cash? I don't know where you are. How do I get you? It's a complicated way to operate. Do you have a credit card number, a Square system, or whatever? I mean, it's so much easier to say, yeah, oh, what's your Bitcoin number? Yeah, here it is, and shoot it right over to you. So we have a new currency, and it's Bitcoin. I'm wearing my tie because I'm saying, hey, this is the future. Um, and you can tell. I mean, we got there are some benefits that came from the COVID lockdown, and that was that people were stuck in place and they had to experiment with new things. Otherwise, they go crazy. And so people were trying things like VR and in their home, and they couldn't keep those things on the Oculus things on the shelf. And then they bought a bunch of Bitcoin. They put Bitcoin into their wallets, and as it moves, as money moves from the old system, the fiat government controlled, banking controlled system, to this new world of Bitcoin, the banks are freaking out. The banks that want the old world are freaking out. And so you hear these things coming from these messages coming from the banks, and they're all very self-serving. Well, first of all, it's very simple. You can get a Coinbase account, or you can just buy a ledger, buy something that looks like this, and hook it up to your computer and move your dollars to your Bitcoin. And it's not a hard thing. It's not complicated. And Bitcoin, whereas banks are getting hacked all the time. In fact, we've lost money to bank hacks. The Bitcoin blockchain has never been hacked, knock on wood, but it has never been hacked. So your money is more secure with Bitcoin. You can move from country to country, and it's accepted everywhere. You have, imagine being a Syrian, and you have a bunch of Syrian money, and then you have to start your life over in Greece as a refugee. Oh, well, if you had Bitcoin, you could just pull down your Bitcoin, start your life over, and keep going. But if you got Syrian money, they're not going to take that in Greece, and you're out of luck. So at least some secure amount of your money should be put into this new asset class, this new currency. I mean, you should hold some of this new currency. And the currency, by any estimation, is going to be worth more in dollars than it was yesterday. And as you go forward 5 years, it's going to be worth even more relative to dollars. And that could be where dollars decrease in value because they're just printing them willy-nilly, or it could be that Bitcoin just starts proliferating around the world as it is, and as more wallets are printed, it becomes more and more valuable. And today the world has about $90 trillion worth of currency out there. Well, I guess now it's $99 trillion worth of currency because the U.S. government just printed 9 trillion of them. Well, my guess is that 25% of that currency will be Bitcoin, and another 25% will be other cryptocurrencies. And so I think that the future will be using these currencies. And if you walk into a Starbucks in 2 years and you try to pay with fiat currency, my guess is you'll be laughed at just as much as the old person pulling out their purse and paying with pennies is laughed at today. You've got where they're pulling little physical pennies out of their purse. The new world will all be crypto, and we, At Draper University, we take Bitcoin. At Hero City, we take Bitcoin. At the store, we take Bitcoin. I took Bitcoin in exchange for a company that was merged out recently. In China, they were having a hard time figuring out how they were going to properly move the money from one place to another, and turned out Bitcoin was a perfect solution. And the reason I'm doing that and moving my money from the old money, the shells and gold and whatever used to be, to this new money is because I think the new money is going to be more valuable and more useful. So for you, just go ahead and set up a wallet and just see how it feels. It's so easy. I mean, I can just move it with this. I can just move it around with my smartphone, and that's whether you use Coinbase or Binance or Ledger, or they all have great solutions for taking your fiat money and moving it into crypto money. I was the first. They had never done it before, and I had to be in two places at once. I was supposed to be in this conference in Palo Alto with my good friend Tony Perkins, and at the same time I was supposed to be at a Skype board meeting in Tallinn, Estonia, and it was very difficult to get video conferencing of any kind done at that time. It was very expensive equipment and whatever. And so Nicholas set this thing up, and he said, I don't know if this is going to work, but he cut off 100,000 simultaneous audio calls to get the bandwidth to be enough so that we could do this video conference via Skype. Entrepreneurs are extraordinary. They do extraordinary things. And so, yeah, I was the first. It was the first video call ever. My daughter was also on it. She was traveling with me, and my daughter Jessie, and we had a good time, and it worked perfectly. It was a perfect view, but of course they used every piece of bandwidth they could. It's coming. This is an important part of the world. Actually, it's almost critical right now. If you have, whether you have a utopian view of the future of the world or a dystopian view, is really whether you believe that Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are going to take us to a new economy, or you think that these governments that are getting just overbearing are going to tell us all what to do, and we're going to be stuck in place with masks on and whatever. I think we've got two views of the future, and I hope we all move toward the utopian. Great fun. Stay brave. This stay safe thing is killing us.